Let's bring in now our panel of party commentators. Susan Smith is a Liberal commentator. Kate Harrison is a Conservative commentator. And Anne McGrath is an NDP commentator. Good to see you all. Hope everybody's doing well as we continue to have a national conversation here around the COVID-19 pandemic and the government's response. Susan, let me start with you here. The Conservatives put a motion before the House today supported by the other opposition parties, and they'll probably pass it in the House when it gets voted on next week. They want more details about the vaccination plan for Canada, and then poof, just like that, we get a news conference today with health and military officials with more details about the plan. But look, it included the Deputy Chief Public Health Officer, Howard News, saying that, look, Canadians shouldn't be so fixated on a date for the vaccine arriving in Canada, but rather on the fact that the government is getting prepared for when it does arrive. What do you think of that statement?
I think it's actually designed to turn the temperature down a bit. These vaccines haven't been approved yet, so therefore we don't know what date and exact what time that vaccine is going to roll out. But I think what's important is knowing that there is a plan to get it rolled out. I'm, for one, am pleased that the military are involved. We as Canadians at the provincial level know how to roll out vaccines. We roll out flu vaccines every year to our people. What we haven't done is roll out something as urgently on such a national scale, though I would argue that I think it was the H1N1 vaccine we managed to get out to people. I'm happy that the military are there, but to be fixated on a start date, I don't think is irresponsible. And I'm disappointed, actually, in the Conservatives in particular, about dialing up the rhetoric and therefore the worry of people around this.
All right, let's bring in Kate.
I think we can be confident that we're going to be able to get it out to people. It has to get approved. It has to be safe.
Okay.
And then we'll get it into the arms and shoulders of the people that need it.
Kate Harrison, the Conservative motion calls for, like I say, a more detailed plan by December 16th. We heard the Canadian General say today he expects the vaccine will be here by early January, distributed by the end of Canadians getting vaccinated by the end of January. The Minister of Procurement, when I spoke to her earlier on our program, wouldn't be pinned down on that date again. Is the date important, or are we obsessing or fixated about that, as Dr. News suggests?
I think the date is important considering that our allies around the world have dates that they're rolling out already. We know that you can already register in the UK for a COVID vaccination as of December 12th. So I think it's important in relation to the fact that other countries are able to provide dates, and ours has been a moving target. It also has not been helpful to have different ministers provide different dates and timelines all the time. Back in the summer, the Prime Minister alluded to the fact that Canada would be able to produce 250,000 vaccines domestically by the end of November. Obviously, that did not come to fruition. So I do think that a date and clear timelines are important because it's happening around the world, and the government so far hasn't been consistent in terms of the dates they have provided.
What do you think about this, Anne? As we learn a little bit more information, it's still a little bit surprising to me that we still have different dates floating around out there, approximations from government officials, and yet we have a military general today saying he says it's going to arrive the first week of January and start being distributed. Jason Kenney says he's been told it's coming the first week of January. What about those mixed messages?
Well, I think mixed messages have been a problem all the way along. But let me say, first of all, the date is important. I think that is what people are talking about. People are looking for a light at the end of the tunnel, as has been said, and the tunnel seems to be getting longer and longer. So I think the date is important, but it's not the only thing that's important. The other thing that's important is what the plan is. So, Susan mentioned a plan, and I think that is really what Canadians are hoping for, is a plan. And there doesn't seem to be one. We don't know when it's arriving. We don't know which ones. We don't know who's going to get it. We don't know how it's going to be managed, whether it's going to be provincially or how it's going to be done that way. So I think that there are too many questions out there. People have already been through a lot. There's been a lot of tragedy, a lot of anxiety. People want to know that there's a plan to get that vaccine out so that they can basically start life again, over, or get things going again. And I think that there's a whole bunch of questions around this, and I think that's not fear mongering to say that. That is what people are talking about.
Susan, go ahead, jump in.
The one thing I hear people wanting a date, Peter, but to say January 1st, that's not going to be you or me that's going to get it on January 1st. That's not going to be the population at large, if that's in fact the case. So while the government works on when the vaccine is going to be approved and deemed safe for Canadians, while it gets more concrete schedule of when we will actually have our hands in the vaccine. Like literally our military are planning to get on planes and go get it. I think that's a good thing. Until we have some of those details, I think it's irresponsible to put a date out there. The other thing is, from an expectation management perspective and an anxiety management perspective for people, if you say January 1, everybody will start to think it's them January 1 and not frontline workers or not seniors in care homes.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I think that
it pushes
those
things out. So I think
the message can be
more detail.
The message can be communicated.
What?
The message can be communicated to people that it's going to be phased in and stepped in. I think people will get that. But
I think people are expecting that. That's what people expect. They expect that there will be certain groups that will get it first, and that is to be expected. Other countries have that plan on their website, and it says when, it says who, it says how.
And I'm not sure too many Canadians would, how upset Canadians would be if they found out it was going to the most vulnerable Canadians first and frontline workers. I think people get that. But Kate, let me ask you about something else here. Aaron O'Toole refused today to criticize one of his MPs, and look, a former leadership candidate, Derek Sloan, who sponsored a petition to be presented to the House calling the COVID vaccines human experimentation and suggesting regulators are bypassing safety protocols. Should Aaron O'Toole condemn his own MP for posting, for supporting and sponsoring that petition?
Yeah, all MPs should be focused right now on getting as many people to take the vaccine as possible and not distracted by these types of petitions. So I think it's regrettable that Sloan has put his name to this. What I do think is a valid concern, and it's not one that's just held by Derek Sloan, is there will be a number of Canadians who are skeptical about getting vaccinated, and that is not good for Canada. Those people exist on the right of the spectrum, the left of the spectrum, everywhere. It's generational in some cases, and he appears to be lending his voice to some of those concerns. So while I think that it's unhelpful to have a member of Parliament not singing from the same song sheet of trying to make sure as many people are vaccinated as possible, because that's how we get back to normal life, it would be premature. It would not be cognizant to recognize that is a concern that a number of Canadians will have. Perhaps it's the one that many don't agree with, but it is a concern that some will have.
What do you think about this, Anne?
Well, I think that this is a problem for Aaron O'Toole's leadership, because I don't know how far and wide this is going to go, but people are looking at his first few days, and he's by and large had a fairly successful rollout of his leadership, but his ability to control some of those things in his caucus is going to be a problem for him, and I think people will be looking at that and will be making judgments on what kind of leadership, because he's got a message that is, I think, trying to appeal to a broader group than he was able to get than they were able to get in the last couple of elections. Right. But you can't do that if you have somebody that is not being managed really in your caucus that is able to do.
Susan, to some extent, Derek Sloan says, "Look, I sort of looked at the preamble, but in some respects, suggesting that there are concerns in the land. People bring petitions to MPs. It's the job of MPs to present them. Does that fly with this argument?"
I think no. Aaron O'Toole should have smacked down Derek Sloan, and that was your original question. And Anne's right, from a leadership perspective, that's a huge problem for Aaron O'Toole. He's trying to position himself as the Prime Minister in waiting. He's the leader of Her Majesty's loyal opposition, and he did not firmly sanction and smack down Derek Sloan. You can say that you can acknowledge that people have concerns about vaccines, but vaccines are safe, and he should have absolutely squashed that. This is par for the course for Derek Sloan, but Aaron O'Toole definitely needs to demonstrate what kind of leader he's going to be, and he seems to be tolerating stuff that isn't safe for Canadians. Caucus members pushing things forward that aren't safe for Canadians.
Just a quick comment, Kate, because our time is short.
Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of people signing the petition also feel that their concerns are being silenced, and I'm not sure that smacking Sloan down, removing him from caucus, or whatever action could be taken. I think that would just really add fuel to the fire of those that suggest that their criticisms aren't being taken seriously.
I don't think he needs to be kicked out of caucus for that. I mean, I'm sure there'll be something along the way.
This is where I jump.
This
is where I have to jump in, and I have to shut things down. I have to do that now because we're out of time. But thank you all. Great to see you all again, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Likewise. Take care.